Confidence in a woman is not just a quality, it is a force that shifts the entire atmosphere around her. It changes how she walks, how she talks, how she chooses, and most importantly, how she is treated by the men in her life. When I say a woman's confidence is the strongest attraction a man responds to, I'm not talking about arrogance or attitude. I'm talking about a woman who knows who she is, what she stands for, and what she deserves. A woman who understands her value does not need to demand attention. Her presence naturally commands it, and that command, that energy, that certainty is something men cannot ignore. Men are visual, yes, but what makes them stay, what makes them commit, what makes them respect you is not just the way you look, it's the way you carry yourself. A confident woman can walk into a room without saying a word and immediately stand out. It's not because she's the loudest or the most glamorous, it's because she moves like she belongs. She doesn't need validation from anybody because she validates herself. That level of self-assurance is magnetic. It makes a man lean in, makes him pay attention, makes him want to rise to her level. Confidence speaks louder than any words you could ever say. A woman who truly knows her worth doesn't overthink if she's enough. She understands she is. She doesn't beg for effort. She expects it naturally. She doesn't chase a man. She attracts the right one. And a man can feel the difference instantly. When a man senses that a woman is secure within herself, it activates something in him. It makes him want to step into his role. It makes him want to lead, to protect, to provide, to impress. Not because she forces him, but because her energy inspires it. A confident woman doesn't panic when a man pulls away, because she doesn't tie her value to his behavior. She doesn't crumble if he takes long to reply, because her world doesn't revolve around a text message. She doesn't stay up at night wondering why he's distant, because she knows she is not defined by someone else's inconsistency. Instead, she knows her options. She knows her time is valuable. She knows she is a blessing, not a backup plan. And a man feels all of that even if she never says it out loud. Men test women sometimes. Not intentionally, but naturally. They want to see how she will react. Will she cling? Will she panic? Will she chase? Or will she remain calm, collected, centered? The moment a man realizes a woman is grounded in confidence, he stops playing. He understands instantly that this is not the type of woman he can waste time with. This is not the type of woman he can give breadcrumbs to. This is not the type of woman who will shrink herself to fit into his life. That realization is powerful because it makes him adjust his behavior. A woman's confidence also sets the tone for how she communicates. She speaks with clarity instead of desperation. She states her needs without fear. She expresses her boundaries without apology. She can say no without guilt and yes without hesitation. She doesn't try to convince a man to choose her. She simply presents who she is and lets him decide if he can rise to that standard. A man may not say it out loud, but he deeply respects a woman who can stand on her own 2 feet emotionally. Another part of confidence is emotional control. A confident woman doesn't let every small thing trigger her. She doesn't spiral into insecurity over things she can't control. She knows her emotional state is her responsibility. This calm energy is incredibly attractive to a man. It makes him feel safe, understood, and respected. A confident woman brings stability, and stability is something every man values, even if he pretends he doesn't. Now let's talk about how confidence affects the way a woman handles relationships. A confident woman does not fear being alone. She would rather be single than settle. She would rather wait than rush. She would rather walk away than tolerate disrespect. That fearlessness is something men feel immediately. When a man knows a woman can leave at any moment without falling apart, his entire approach changes. He becomes more intentional with his words, more consistent with his actions, and more thoughtful with his decisions. Confidence also changes the way a woman sees herself. She doesn't compare herself to other women. She doesn't feel threatened by anyone. She understands that what she brings to the table is unique. Her heart, her loyalty, her softness, her intelligence, her humor, all of that is one of one. No other woman can be her. And that mindset puts her in a league of her own. When a woman truly internalizes this, Her energy becomes undeniable. The truth is, confidence is not something you show to get a man. It's something you build for yourself. But the byproduct of that confidence is that men respond differently. They admire you, they respect you, they pursue you with intention. Confidence makes you unforgettable, not because you try to be, but because you naturally are. A confident woman never has to wonder whether she's being chosen. She can feel it, she can see it, she can hear it in a man's tone, in his consistency, in the effort he makes. She doesn't settle for confusion, and she doesn't tolerate mixed signals. If something doesn't feel right, she addresses it. If it keeps happening, she removes herself. And that ability to walk away is one of the strongest signals of confidence a woman can send. Men are drawn to women who elevate them, challenge them, and inspire them. And inspiration comes from confidence. A woman who believes in herself makes a man want to be better. She makes him want to meet her standards. She makes him want to step up, not out of fear, but out of admiration. This is why confidence is the ultimate attraction. It shapes everything. The way you talk, the way you move, the way you love, the way you receive love. A confident woman doesn't just capture a man's attention. She earns his respect, his loyalty, and his desire to pursue her consistently. If you want, I can now write expand 2 to 900 words. You said, expend 2 keynotes, 900 words without subheading and conclusion. ChatGPT said, here is expand 2, 900 words based on keynote 2. Setting boundaries makes a man realize your value instantly. No subheadings, no conclusion. When a woman sets boundaries, she is not trying to control a man or manipulate him. She is simply declaring to the world what she will and will not accept. And the moment she does that, everything about how a man sees her changes. Boundaries are not walls. They are doors with locks. They don't close people out. They make sure only the right people come in. When a man encounters a woman with boundaries, he immediately feels the difference. It hits him like a truth he can't ignore. This woman knows her worth, and I need to rise to her level if I want to be in her life. Setting boundaries is one of the most powerful ways for a woman to communicate her value without saying a single word. You don't have to shout, argue, explain, or convince. You simply draw a line, protect your peace, and let your actions speak for you. And men pay very close attention to the actions of a woman who respects herself. A man may not admit it, but he can instantly tell when he's dealing with someone who loves herself enough not to tolerate disrespect or inconsistency. That realization alone forces him to think differently, act differently, and treat her differently. Here's why boundaries work. They create clarity. And clarity makes a man step up because now he knows exactly what's expected of him. When you let a man guess what you want, he will choose the easiest path every time. But when you stand firm in what you expect, respect, consistency, honesty, effort, he either rises to meet that or he removes himself. Both outcomes are good because both protect your heart. Boundaries remove confusion. They remove manipulation. They remove excuses. They expose intentions. A man's true character shows when he is faced with a woman who is not afraid to walk away. A woman with boundaries does not repeat herself endlessly. She does not beg for better treatment. She does not shrink herself to fit a man's comfort zone. She does not lower her standards to match someone else's lack of effort. She doesn't keep giving chances to a man who keeps proving he doesn't deserve them. Instead, she states her needs clearly once, and if they're not met, she adjusts her access, not her worth. And that shift is powerful. When you remove access, you remind a man that you are a privilege, not a convenience. A lot of women fear setting boundaries because they think it will push a man away. But here's the truth. Boundaries don't push away the right man. They push away the wrong one. A man who genuinely cares will respect your standards. He will step into the responsibility of meeting them because he sees your value. The man who complains, ignores, or avoids your boundaries is the man who was never going to give you what you deserved in the first place. Boundaries don't ruin healthy relationships. They reveal unhealthy ones. Men notice when a woman has the strength to say no, not a soft no, not a hesitant no, but a confident no. No to disrespect, no to inconsistency, no to being treated like an afterthought, no to being the only one putting in effort, no to half love, half attention, half energy. Every no you say is a yes to yourself. And a man who sees a woman valuing herself immediately understands that she will not be played with. That understanding creates respect, and respect is the foundation of attraction. Think about the times you accepted less than you deserved. Think about how easy it was for a man to take advantage of your kindness. Think about the excuses you used to let slide, the mixed signals you tolerated, the effort you poured into someone who didn't pour back. Setting boundaries ends all of that. Because the moment you realize your worth, you stop participating in situations that drain you. A woman without boundaries is exhausted. A woman with boundaries is peaceful, and a peaceful woman is powerful. Boundaries also change how you communicate. Instead of reacting emotionally, you respond intentionally. Instead of arguing, you speak from clarity. Instead of trying to convince a man to treat you right, you simply stop engaging with any behavior that doesn't align with your standards. When you stop entertaining nonsense, nonsense stops approaching you. Men feel that shift. They feel when a woman stops accepting bare minimum energy, and a confident woman's boundaries force a man to level up or lose his place. When a man realizes that you're willing to walk away, that's when he starts putting in real effort, not fake effort, not temporary effort, real effort, because now he understands that your love is not guaranteed. Access to you is not unlimited. Your time is not something he gets to waste. Your energy is not something he gets to drain. Boundaries create accountability. They make a man evaluate himself, his behavior, and his intentions. When a woman sets boundaries, she also protects her emotional health. She doesn't let a man's inconsistency dictate her mood. She doesn't let uncertainty control her thoughts. She doesn't let disrespect destroy her peace. Boundaries allow her to keep her power, and when a woman keeps her power, a man feels her strength even in her silence. That silence, backed by firm boundaries, is what makes him rethink everything. It makes him ask himself, am I losing her? And that question alone creates urgency. Men fall in love with value, and value is communicated through boundaries. A woman who demands respect is respected. A woman who expects effort receives effort. A woman who refuses to be treated poorly is treated better. Not because she fights for it, but because she requires it. Boundaries are the highest form of self-love, and self-love is irresistible. When you set boundaries, you teach a man how to treat you. You show him what level of access he has earned. You show him what kind of behavior you accept. You show him the standard he must meet if he wants a place in your life. And the moment he realizes that, the moment he feels that shift, he sees your value not as something optional, but essential. If you want, I can now write expand 3 to 900 words. You said expend 3 keynotes, 900 words without subheading and conclusion. ChatGPT said bar. Here is expand 3 to 900 words based on keynote 3 bar. Silence and mystery make a man rethink his actions and reach out first. Oh, subheadings, no conclusion. Silence is one of the most misunderstood forms of communication, yet it is one of the most powerful, especially in relationships, especially with men. See, silence is not emptiness. Silence is a message. Silence is a mirror. Silence makes a man see himself in a way your words never could. When a woman stops explaining, stops arguing, stops overgiving, stops overcommunicating, and instead becomes calm, quiet, distant, and focused on herself, that shift hits a man in a way nothing else does. It creates a sense of mystery that makes him question what changed, what he did, and what he might be losing. A lot of women think constant communication keeps a man close, but in reality, silence creates a space he can feel. That space forces him to sit with his choices. It makes him think about the last conversation you had, the last message he ignored, the last moment he took you for granted. Words can be debated, but silence cannot. When you stop talking, he starts thinking. And that thinking is what makes him reach out first. Mystery ties into silence because when you are not constantly available, constantly responding, constantly updating, a man becomes curious. Curiosity is powerful. It makes a man wonder what you're doing, who you're with, what you're thinking, why you're so calm, why you're not reacting like you used to. That curiosity creates movement. Men chase what they don't fully understand. They pursue what they can't fully predict. When you pull back into your own world, when you focus on yourself instead of him, he starts to feel that distance, and that distance wakes him up. Silence is not about punishment. It's about preservation. It's not about manipulation. It's about boundaries without words. It says, if you want access to me, show me through your actions, not your excuses. A woman's silence removes the noise. It takes away the drama, the arguments, the emotional reactions. It takes away the opportunity for him to dismiss your feelings. Instead, it leaves him alone with the one question he cannot escape. Why is she moving differently? That question alone is enough to shift a man's behavior. When a man senses mystery, he senses value. Mystery is the opposite of desperation. Mystery signals that you are not dependent on his attention to feel complete. It shows that you have a life, goals, dreams, joy, and peace outside of him. When a man feels that he's no longer at the center of your world, that's when he starts trying to step back into it. Men notice when a woman is no longer predictable. They notice when you stop texting good morning first. They notice when you stop replying instantly. They notice when you stop seeking reassurance. They notice when you start moving in silence instead of trying to prove your worth. Silence also reveals your emotional maturity. It shows you are not controlled by your impulses or fears. It shows that instead of reacting, you observe. Instead of begging, you breathe. Instead of forcing a connection, you hold your energy close. A woman who is quiet is not weak, she is in control. And control is deeply attractive to a man, not because he wants to dominate her, but because he respects the strength she shows by not letting emotions dictate her every move. When you withdraw your energy without anger or attitude, just calm and quiet, it signals a shift he cannot ignore. It tells him you are not attached to his potential, but paying attention to his patterns. It shows him you are done repeating the same conversation about effort, loyalty, consistency, respect. When you've reached your limit, you don't explode, you expire. And that expiration is what scares a man because he knows silence means this time you're serious. Mystery builds anticipation. When a woman becomes less accessible, a man starts to wonder how he fits into her life. He starts trying to get that certainty back. He starts putting in effort, not because she asked, but because he feels the need to. People chase what they fear losing, and silence makes a man feel lost before it happens. It creates an emotional gap, and that gap makes him act. You don't have to remind him of your worth. Your silence does that. You don't have to argue about how he treats you. Your absence speaks louder. Silence shifts the energy dynamic. It takes you out of the position of the pursuer and places him in it. It changes the rhythm of the relationship, making him step forward while you step back. And when you step back, he sees what he took for granted. A man might ignore your words, but he cannot ignore your silence. He cannot ignore when your tone changes. He cannot ignore when your energy softens instead of reacts. He cannot ignore when you no longer engage in the same emotional patterns. That change in behavior is what makes him question himself. Did he push you too far? Did he lose your interest? Did someone else catch your attention? Men think these things, even if they never admit it. Mystery also reactivates a man's instinct to pursue. Men are natural hunters, but they only hunt what doesn't sit still and wait to be chosen. When you reclaim your life, your focus, your glow, your peace, without announcing it, without posting it for validation, he senses that movement, and that movement triggers action. Silence doesn't mean disappearing. It means shifting your energy inward, taking care of your life, elevating yourself, letting your glow do the talking. When you're mysterious, you keep parts of yourself sacred. You don't overshare. You don't overgive. You don't let him know everything happening inside you. You choose what he learns and when. That control increases your value in his eyes because it shows you aren't desperate for connection. You're intentional with it. Silence and mystery remind a man that you are a grown woman, not a girl seeking attention. You are a prize, not a placeholder. You are a blessing, not a backup plan. And when a man feels that shift, when he senses he is losing access, when he feels the quietness of your energy, that's when he reaches out, not out of obligation, but out of genuine desire to reconnect with a woman whose presence he realizes he can't replace. If you want, I can now write expand 4 to 900 words. You said expand 4 keynotes 900 words without subheading and conclusion. ChatGPT said, bar, here is expand 4 to 900 words based on keynote 4, bar. Your emotional control makes a man value you because he can trust your stability. Oh, subheadings, no conclusion, bar. Emotional control is one of the most powerful qualities a woman can develop. It doesn't mean being cold, distant, or unfeeling. It means you know how to manage your emotions instead of letting them manage you. When a woman has emotional control, she carries herself with a calm, steady, grounded presence that a man instantly respects. Men value stability more than they ever say. They want to feel safe around a woman, not only physically, but emotionally. And when a woman can express her feelings without exploding, communicate her concerns without chaos, and hold herself together even when she's hurt, that stability makes her stand out from every other woman he's encountered. Woman with emotional control doesn't let every small thing turn into a storm. She doesn't react out of fear or insecurity. She doesn't jump to conclusions when something feels off. Instead, she pauses, thinks, observes, and then responds with clarity. That ability sets her apart because many men have dated women who reacted before thinking, who argued before listening, who made assumptions instead of having conversations. When he meets a woman who remains composed even during tension, it shocks him. It makes him pay attention. It makes him realize that she's not ruled by temporary emotions. She's guided by intention. Emotional control doesn't mean suppressing your feelings. It means expressing them in a way that builds connection instead of destroying it. A woman with this power can say, this bothered me, without attacking. She can say, I need this from you, without begging. She can say, I didn't like how that made me feel, without turning it into a war. She can walk away from disrespect without yelling and end a conversation calmly if it becomes unproductive. That maturity shows a man that she's not fragile. She's not unstable. She's not unpredictable. She's a woman he can trust with his own vulnerabilities. Men open up to women who make them feel emotionally safe, and emotional safety comes from steadiness. If a woman gets angry at every small issue, panics when things go wrong, or becomes dramatic whenever she feels insecure, a man starts to hold back, not because he doesn't care, but because he fears conflict. He fears being misunderstood. He fears being attacked for being honest. But when a woman has emotional control, she creates an environment where a man can express himself without fear. And that builds connection. A woman with emotional control doesn't fall apart when a man needs space. She doesn't chase. She doesn't assume the worst. She doesn't let anxiety take over her mind. She gives him breathing room because she understands that space is not rejection, it's simply space. And that calm reaction is what makes him come back sooner, faster, with more intention. When a woman stays grounded while he pulls back, it makes him trust her more. It shows him she's not going to crumble under pressure. Emotional control is also about not giving your power away. You don't let a man's mood dictate your mood. You don't let his silence create panic. You don't let his inconsistency turn you into someone you're not. Instead, you stay rooted in your own center. You stay connected to your own value. You say to yourself, I'm not going to lose my peace over something that's not aligned with me. That level of self-command is extremely attractive because it shows strength. Men admire strength in women far more than people think. Not a loud, aggressive strength, but a quiet, confident strength. When a woman controls her emotions, she's harder to manipulate. Men quickly realize they can't use silence to punish her. They can't use mixed signals to confuse her. They can't push her buttons to get a reaction. They can't get away with emotional games because she simply doesn't play them. She doesn't chase validation. She doesn't fight for attention. She doesn't respond to disrespect with desperation. She simply withdraws her energy and lets her absence speak. That alone makes a man take her more seriously. Emotional control also makes communication healthier. Instead of escalating arguments, she diffuses them. Instead of overreacting, she seeks clarity. Instead of assuming, she asks questions. Instead of yelling, she speaks with intention. That calmness invites him to communicate better. Men actually want to talk. They just shut down when chaos enters the conversation. When he knows he can come to her without getting attacked, he will. He will talk more. He will open up. He will be more honest. Her emotional stability becomes a safe place. This level of weakness handling impresses a man. He admires a woman who can hear something she doesn't like without losing control. He admires a woman who doesn't punish him emotionally. He admires a woman who doesn't weaponize her feelings. He admires a woman who stays respectful even when she's upset. That admiration turns into respect, and respect turns into loyalty. A woman with emotional control doesn't jump into threats. She doesn't say, "Fine, I'm done," just to get a reaction. She doesn't use silence as punishment. She doesn't push him away to see if he'll chase. She doesn't break up just to make him step up. She communicates with maturity because she knows real relationships are built on consistency, not chaos. And when a man sees a woman who can stay calm during conflict, who can hold herself with dignity even in disagreement, he sees her as someone he can build a future with. Men value predictability in a woman's emotional state. Not boring predictability, but stable predictability. They want to know she won't explode when life gets difficult. They want to know she's reliable. They want to know she can handle stress. They want to know she won't switch up on them emotionally. Emotional stability signals partnership. It signals maturity. It signals longevity. A woman with emotional control knows that not everything deserves a reaction. She knows when to speak and when to stay silent. She knows when to hold close and when to step back. She knows that emotional intelligence is not about suppressing what you feel, but mastering how you express it. Her stability becomes magnetic. Her calmness becomes soothing. Her presence becomes grounding. And when a man finds a woman who brings him emotional peace instead of emotional chaos, he values her in a way that is deep, rare, and lasting.